Hey, what is up there, YouTubers? Admin Synergy coming to you guys here today with another booster box opening. So, today we have in a box of Gatecrash. So, this is number 2 that I'm going to be opening up here on the channel. I'm probably going to do a couple more full box openings, but yep. So, this is the second one that I've opened or am going to open on the channel. And we are going to rare hunt. We're just going to take a look at what rares, what foils we get out of here, and I'm just going to look for the good stuff. So, let's get cracking. And if you guys want to purchase any Gatecrash boxes, ABU Games has them in stock on their website. There's a link down below where you guys can find that. And you can purchase some Gatecrash boxes and pull all the good things. So we have our flyer here, so we're going to put that off to the side. Oh, we have 2 flyers. Look at that. This must be a lucky box. Oh yeah, 2 flyers. Alright, so let's take a look at things. So I'm going to be going down each column, going from top to bottom, left to right. So it's basically going to be the same way that the boxes are packed in the factory. So if anybody's trying to map the set or anything like that, I'm going to be opening up the packs as they are packed in the factory. So let's see here. Alright, so first pack, I'm going to be looking for all the good stuff. And we have Rubble Belt Raiders, and this one actually has a minor, it's not really a misprint, but the ink on it is much thicker than it's supposed to be with like any of the other cards. Like as you can see with the Shank Tail, as opposed to the Rubble Belt Raiders, the ink is a whole lot thicker for the names. So this is kind of a occurrence that happens with some of the cards when they're being printed. So this one has a kind of like unique thing to it where the ink is a lot thicker on it. So that's kind of interesting. But 3/3 for 4 whenever it attacks. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each attacking creature you control. So really strong for limited. As far as anything else goes, it's somewhat playable and constructed. Kitchen Table Magic, it's a fun card. Essentially, if they don't have a real way to deal with it and construct it, it just gets even bigger and bigger until they have to deal with it some way. So we have Boros Reckoner, so 3/3 for 3, and whenever he's dealt damage, he deals that much damage to target creature or player, and he gains first strike for 1 red or 1 white until the end of the turn. And we also have a Ripscale Predator foil, so we're going to put that off to the side. An interesting interaction with Boros Reckoner is if you can give him Indestructible and Lifelink, and if he's dealt damage by like one of your opponent's creatures or something like that, you can have Boros Reckoner deal the damage to himself whenever it's being like redirected, and you essentially go into this loop where you keep on gaining life, and you can stop the interaction at any point in time, but you can gain infinite amount of life and just keep on dealing damage to Boros Reckoner, triggering the ability, dealing damage and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. So keep that in mind if you run into like Near Heath Pilgrim, Frontline Medic, something like that, where you're swinging with all those creatures and you're able to give them lifelink Indestructible. If they deal damage to them, you can essentially gain infinite life. Alright, so let's see here. We have Angelic Skirmisher, so 4/4 for 6. Flying at the beginning of each combat, choose First Strike, Vigilance, or Lifelink. Creatures you control gain that ability until the end of the turn. Really strong for limited. Love that card. I've been able to play with it once for Gatecrash Limited, and it's really strong. So I like that. Alright. I'm going to try and go a little bit faster here, not waste too much time. We have Hellkite Tyrant, so our first mythic of the box, and hopefully not the only one, but 5/6 for 6 flying trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. So it's a nice, interesting interaction for more so EDH than anything else as far as that win condition goes. But it's a cool card. We have the Diluvian Primordial. So you can cast up to one target instant or sorcery card from each opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. And I would say more than anything, again, that's like an EDH card. It's pretty expensive, like 7 cost, 5/5 with flying. It's not entirely unplayable for limited, but it's just expensive. And then we have Predator's Rapport. So instant speed, nice and shiny, letting us gain a whole ton of life. It was a fun card to actually play around with Gruul. Just because at instant speed you could gain a ton of life, especially if you have a really huge dude. And it sets you up over the top. Alright, so we have Biomass Mutation, so creatures you control become XX until the end of the turn, and you have to pay X amount of mana and double hybrid green or blue for it. So we have Assemble the Legions, 5-cost card. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a counter on it, and then you put a 1/1 for each counter that's on the Assemble the Legions. And each turn you end up getting more and more tokens, and they all have haste anyway, so it's pretty nice. It's an easy way to trigger off Battalion in drafting your sealed. Alright, so we have Merciless Eviction, so sorcery speed removal card for 6. Choose one, exile all artifacts, all enchantments, all creatures, or all planeswalkers. You only get to choose one. And we have Rubble Hulk, so power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control, and Blood Rush for 3, giving the attacking creature +X/+X. X is equal to the amount of lands you control. And we have a foil Beacon Apparition, so exile target card from a graveyard and put a 1/1 onto the battlefield. So 3 foils so far, that's not bad. They're not really like the most useful foils, but they're foils nonetheless. Always like to throw in some of those foils when I like sell stuff online, and whenever I'm packaging, I'll just throw in foil stuff like that. Or whenever I trade, just throw in extras like that. Then we have Illusionist Bracers. So whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the ability and equip for 3. And then we have Smog Elemental as a foil. So yet again another foil, but not the most useful one. And then we have 2 more packs left in the first column. We have Aurelia, the War Leader, or Aurelia, however you want to pronounce it. It's no big deal. 3/4 for 6, Flying Vigilance Haste. Whenever she attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. She is just absolutely huge. I'm playing her in Constructed, and she is just all the awesome. Really love her, especially in Naya mid-range. I think she's really, really strong. Alright, so let's see, last pack out of the first column here. So we have Consuming Aberration, power toughness equal to the amount of cards that are in opponents' graveyards, and whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals the top cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land, and then they put those cards into their graveyard. And we also have a Foil Mountain, which is cool. And I know some people are going to ask why the Return to Ravnica lands. It's actually because Gatecrash doesn't have a basic land set of their own. Alright, so starting off this second column here, I'm going to try and go a little bit faster through it. We have Undercity Plague, so sorcery speed, 6 cost, target player loses 1 life, discards a card, then sacrifices a permanent, and then you get to cipher that, which is awesome. We have 5 Alarm Fire, so whenever a creature you control deals combat damage, you put a counter on 5 Alarm Fire. And then you get to remove 5 counters from it, and you can deal 5 damage to target creature or player. Soul Ransom, so we get to take one of our opponent's creatures. Now, with Soul Ransom, they can discard 2 cards, and they can make us sacrifice Soul Ransom, but if they do that, we actually get to draw 2 cards, so it's not bad overall. Then we have the Black Primordial that I don't even want to try to pronounce. So 5/4 for 7 Intimidate, and whenever it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may put up to 1 target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So it lets you like reanimate your opponent's things and just get all the big dudes that you possibly milled your opponent out or remove from the battlefield. So not really that impressive of a box so far. We have Fathom Mage, so evolve, and whenever a +1/+1's put onto it, you get to draw a card. We have Furious Resistance foil, so target blocking creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until the end of the turn. Kind of helps whenever you have to be defensive with stuff like Boros and builds that generally want to be a little bit more aggressive. Alright. We have Ogre Slumlord, so 3/3 for 5. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you can put a 1/1 Black Rat token onto the battlefield, and rats you control have Death Touch. Alright. We have Master Biomancer, so mythic for us here. So 2/4 for 4. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to Master Biomancer's power, and is a mutant in addition to its other types. So it's kind of funny that they add in the mutant clause there, but either way, Master Biomancer is a really cool elf wizard creature, and it's just really powerful with letting you get bigger things as far as playing in a draft or in limited go or in sealed goes. So we have Ooze Flux, 4 cost enchantment and it has an ability for 2 where you get to remove +1/+1 counters from it and make a XX creature with, or remove +1/+1 counters from creatures you control, and then you get a XX green Ooze creature token onto the battlefield where X is the number of +1/+1s you removed. And we have all that shiny, all that awesome mythic foil, Death Pack Angel. So really awesome mythic flying. 5/5 for 6, and whenever it dies, you get a 1/1 that essentially lets you sack it and bring back the Death Pack Angel. So that's really cool. Really awesome foil to have. Foil mythics are always sick, so can't really ask for much more unless it was like some bigger, more awesome mythic to have as a foil. Either way, though, we're going to continue this on, see what other awesome stuff we can pull. No Shocklands so far. That's kind of depressing. We have Lazov, the Mere Mastermind, so another legendary creature, and Mythic, Hexproof. 3/3 for 4. Whenever a creature card is put into the opponent's graveyard from anywhere, Lazov can become a copy of it, except it's still Lazov, and it still has that ability in addition to its other types, and has Hexproof. So Lazov is really awesome. He's really flavorful. I like him in Dimir. I like Mill overall. I just like the Dimir guild, even though it's not really like the best guild overall as far as the cards that you have. But Lazov is just awesome. I really like that guy. We have a Boros Charm, noteworthy. And we have Firemane Avengers, so 3/3 for 4, flying in Battalion, and whenever you trigger off Battalion, it gets to Lightning Helix, so deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 3 life. And then we have 2 more packs here left in the second call. Skullcrack is also good. It's another good uncommon. And we have High Priest of Penance. And with the High Priest of Penance, as you guys can see, it's a minor kind of like error as far as printing goes. So the High Priest of Penance has a thicker name to it, just like the Rubble Belt Raiders that we looked at. So it's just a whole lot thicker, but makes the card pretty unique. So whenever it's dealt damage, you may destroy target non-land permanent. Really awesome and limited. I like it because even late game it's pretty good out of having a 1/1 for 2. And then we have a foil, Holy Mantle. So Holy Mantle is pretty good and limited as well. I like that card, giving your creature protection from creatures and +2/+2, essentially making it unblockable as far as creatures go. And our last pack in the second column here. So we have the Sylvan Primordial. So I actually didn't really look at this card very much. So it's a 6/8 for 7 reach, and whenever it enters the battlefield for each opponent, destroy target non-land creature or non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, search your library for a forest and put that onto the battlefield tapped. That's alright, I guess. Again, that's like an EDH card. That's not something that I necessarily would favor as far as limited goes, but even still, for that 7 mana, you can get a 6/8 with reach, which is pretty good. Lets you destroy non-creature permanents. If only it was creatures, that would be awesome too, but I mean, it's not horrible. We have another Boros Charm here. And we have Whispering Madness, so sorcery, and it's essentially Windfall for 4, for you guys that have been playing longer. Each opponent discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards that a player discarded this way, and then you get this cipher onto a creature. So, essentially Windfall that players that have played longer with will recognize it as. We have Giant Adaphage, so it's a 7/7 for 7 trample, And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of it. So a really huge card for just all of the fun ways to just make more 7/7s. Again, it's another mythic, so that's just another mythic that we pulled out of this box, but it's a funny one to have. And then we have a Frog Lizard token. You gotta love them Frog Lizards. So a whole lot of mythics so far, but no shocks. I like mythics. I love getting mythics, but I would like some shocks out of this box too. Some of the boxes just don't get shocks, and I've had a few boxes of Return to Ravnica that have been that way too. And we have the Blue Primordial, the Diluvian Primordial, and we also have a foil Unexpected Result, so another foil rare, which is kind of cool. I'm not really huge on either of them, but I mean, foil rares are foil rares. We have Rubble Belt Raiders, so it looks like this one seems to be kind of normal. I don't know, the text isn't way too big on it. So this one's a little bit more normal of a looking text with the name on it. Still looks a little bit bolder, but either way, another Rubble Belt Raiders out of this box. That's two of them. So we have Blind Obedience, so extort and creatures and and enchantments. Is it artifact? Yeah, it's artifacts, not enchantments. Creatures and artifacts that your opponent controls are going to enter in the battlefield tapped. So the most useful thing that I see out of that card as far as constructed play goes is the fact that if you're playing up against like aggro versus aggro, you can have your opponent's creatures enter in tapped, so they can't essentially like be able to block anything that you're doing. Then we have a Sylvan Primordial here, so another one of the Primordials. And the second Primordial that we have, as far as the green ones go. We have Stomping Ground, so there we go. We at least got one shock out of here so far. So Stomping Ground provides green or red to our mana pool, enters in the battlefield tapped unless you pay 2 life. Just a couple more packs left here. We have Immortal Servitude, so returning creature cards with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. And the cost is X and triple hybrid Orzhov, or white or black. If only it was X or less, that would be awesome, but it's not. I'm sure by some standard that would be broken. And then we have Breeding Pool, so green or blue to our mana pool. Enters the battlefield tapped unless we pay 2 life for it. And we have a foil Greenside Watcher. So finally getting the shocks that I was complaining about. And we have, what, 3 packs, I think? So we'll try to wrap this up here. We have Unexpected Results. We have Signal the Clans. No foil out of here. And then we have our last pack. So, moment of truth. If we get anything awesome, or if we get a another bad card. Overall, I think the box was pretty fair, though. We pulled enough mythics to kind of compensate not really getting any very many shocklands or anything like that, or any other high cost cards. So let's see. We have Night Veil Spectre, so not the most amazing card, but at the same time, it's not entirely way too terrible. So 2/3 for 3 flying, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we get to exile the top card of that player's library, and we can cast cards that are exiled with Night Veil Spectre. So, like I said, overall, the box wasn't too bad. We definitely pulled some good things. The Boros Reckoner is something that I like. Hellkite was a mythic. There's also Aurelia, however you want to pronounce it. Soul Ransom isn't bad. I like Master Biomancer as well. Lazov is good. Adaphage is another mythic there. Blind Obedience is good. Stomping Ground, Breeding Pool are also nice. So overall, some good things too. Boros Charms and Skullcrack as far as I noticed. And then we have that Death Pack Angel foil, which is just sick, and Unexpected Results foil from Noteworthy Foils. So yeah, overall, I think it was a pretty fair box. If you guys want to order up a box of Gatecrash of your own, there's a link down below where you guys can find them on abugames.com. And as always, remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more Magic the Gathering content. Until next time, guys, have yourselves a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.